This funding opportunity is going to come out of the Office of Emergency Programs directly from the South Carolina Department of Education. If you have any questions about this funding opportunity, you can send those questions to this email address. We will be sending out a copy of the slides presentation as well as a recording of this technical assistance, and that information will be included with that email for you as well. These funds were made available to the state education agencies during the pandemic to provide emergency relief funds to address the impact of COVID, the impact that COVID has had and continues to have on the communities across the nation. These funds were provided. The funds for this particular opportunity are the ARP funds, which was the third of three sets of funding that came down for emergency relief for COVID, and this is through the American Rescue Plan. The purpose of the ARP ESSER After School Summer Initiative is provide opportunities for communities to establish and expand activities in their communities. We're looking for strong academic programs that also provide enrichment to students in after school hours, summer hours, and occasionally we will approve some Saturday activities as well as activities when schools are closed. The type of activities you can provide include nutrition education, physical fitness, financial literacy, of course, academic enrichment, as well as technology education programs. The Office of Emergency Programs has approximately $12 million available for funding for new subgrants fiscal year 22-23. The funds will be available through September 30th of 2024. We are hoping for a start date of January 1st, and that will be about a 21-month period of time for the funding. To be eligible to apply, you must be a community-based organization with a 501c3 designation, have a unique entity identifier or UEI, and an active SAM registration. These things are not negotiable. These are definite requirements that we have to have in order to receive for you to receive federal funds. Also, the primary applicant must have an automated accounting system in place. So if a lot of the organizations we've worked with before are still writing checks by hand, you have to have a system that can track the funds, separate out by accounts, by line items. So we need to make sure you have the capabilities to manage federal funds. Grantees must maintain adequate supporting documents for the expenditures that it makes under this grant. These could be anytime you make a purchase, keep your receipts, have your invoices. If you have staff that are being paid through the grant, you have to make sure you have time and effort. And your accounting system must be a system that can help you in maintaining those types of documentation. What we've been letting all of our subgrantees know that the statement from the feds is not if we're audited, the statement is when we're audited. So if the Department of Ed is audited, that audit does roll down to some of our subgrantees. So it is our goal to make sure everyone is prepared, everyone is in line and in compliance. So if your particular organization is called for an audit, you will have everything in place. Your UEI number and SAM.gov. This is very, very important. If you do not currently have a SAM.gov active registration, you can go to SAM.gov and begin that process. Those of you that already have your SAM.gov, if you aren't aware that you do have a new UEI number, to go to SAM.gov and it will talk you through how to find that. We'll talk about it in another slide, but folks are the UEI number has replaced the DUNS number. So if you had a DUNS number in the past, that number is no longer valid. You would have to have a UEI number. And we cannot make subawards to any entity that does not have an active SAM.gov registration, and that registration has to be viewable on the site. So when you go out to register for your SAM.gov, make sure I think it's a little box you can check to make it viewable because if we can't verify, then we cannot award funds. Your UEI number will be a 12-character alphanumeric number that will be assigned by SAM.gov. As I said, DUN numbers are no longer used or acceptable. So you can click this link, and if you don't mind, Chrissy, if you can post that link in the chat for us to see how you can begin that process. This website here in this link shows all federal regulations. Specific regulations for ARPS or funding will also be included in the request for proposal that comes out, but make sure you review that and that you are able to meet all those requirements of this federal program. We'll post that link for you in the chat as well. Applicants must propose academic instruction and enrichment activities to help students meet and exceed state and local standards in ELA, reading, and mathematics. Applicants may also provide academic instruction in other core content areas to target students' needs. A program offers service to students during normal school hours on days when school is not in session, and after school, summer school, and on Saturdays. Authorized activities under this funding, we have chosen these 5 particular activities for you guys to work with your students on to address the unique needs of low-income students, students with disabilities, English learners, racial and ethnic minorities, homelessness. We also allow you to purchase supplies for cleaning, any PPE supplies to help keep your facilities clean, and not to spread germs, provide mental health services through the implementation of evidence-based strategies, plan activities to relate to summer learning, again, addressing the needs of low-income students, students with disabilities, English learners, migrant students, students experiencing homelessness, and children in foster care, and as well as addressing learning loss amongst those same groups of students. We're also hoping to increase student attendance and student engagement. There is an extensive list of unauthorized activities with this particular funding. This is just a few of them. This is not the total list, but some things to keep in mind. These funds cannot be used to pay for food, not for snacks, not for bottled water, not for food on a field trip, not for food that goes with a particular program. We're not approving any purchase of food with these ESSER funds. Field trips are allowed with this funding. However, they must be academic and not purely entertainment. We will cover the cost for the students only for these field trips, and that would be for the admission fees and any reasonable transportation. You cannot purchase vehicles with these funds. However, we can assist in mileage of the transportation of students. These funds are not to be used as pass-through funds or subgrants to other entities. So you cannot, if you receive the funding from the State Department of Ed, you can't then in turn subaward the money out to another entity. If you are the awardee, then we would be expecting you to do the work. You will not be able to purchase technology with these funds as well unless it is approved software. So you will not be able to actually purchase any computers, but if there's a software you like to use to help the students, we will consider approving those purchases. As a part of your application process, you will have to submit a pre-award risk assessment with your application. This will assist the SCDE with determining if you have the capacity to meet the requirements of a federal grant, a federal award. The Office of Audit Services here at the department may even contact you to review your policies and procedures. So there's a link here that talks about what we'll be looking for as far as what you'll need to do to have in place to receive the funds, and a copy of the sub-recipient risk assessment as well. So you can go ahead and start looking at those things. And if you don't have those things in place in your entities, to go ahead and get those policies in order. All applications proposing an ARP after school or summer initiative must include the following descriptions. We have to know what activities are going to be funded, how these activities expect to improve student achievement, and also any other federal, state, or local programs that you will be combining with your project, so that we can see how we are working with, how these federal funds will be used alongside other funding sources you may have. Keep in mind that this program is, if you already have programs running and you already have programs in place, these funds should be used to expand those current programs or to add additional activities to the program. With the exceptions of Fridays, we expect for the programs to be at least 50% academic every day. We are expecting the programs to operate for 10 hours per week, at least 4 days per week, Monday through Friday. The operation has to be consistent from week to week. So whichever days you choose to work, those are the days we expect to see every day during your process. Saturday activities are optional, but they do not replace the 10 hours for the week. So if you're having a Saturday program, you still must have your 10 hours Monday through Friday during that week. For summer, the minimum operation will be 4 hours a day, 4 days a week for 4 weeks between the time of June 1st through July 31st. That is the minimum you can do in the summer. Christy, are there any questions before I move forward?
Yeah, I was just unmuting. We have one question that's asking, particularly for summer, if they partner with an organization, like an example for financial literacy, will they be able to pay them through the grant?
Yes, you will have a, in your budget, we will allow for purchase services, which will allow you to make contract with other entities. We are asking in the application if you are going to be partnering with another entity, that the MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement, which outlines the services they will be providing, how often they will be providing the services, and what the cost of those services will be. We ask for that to be included in your application. It would need to be signed by your authorized official as well as the authorized official for that entity.
And one more question, are 4-day weeks allowed in intersession?
Yes, we are allowing for programs to still operate when school itself is not in session. So during holidays and intersession and things like that, your program can still operate.
That's it right now.
Okay, thank you, Christy. Recommended strategies. These are activities that we are looking to see in your applications: academic enrichment programs, mentoring programs, well-rounded activities that help students with learning loss, literacy programs, financial literacy, programs that support healthy and active lifestyles. So with that, we've seen a lot of folks do physical fitness or some type of PE classes to encourage students to have a more active lifestyle, services directly for students with disabilities, and also programs that are geared toward your students who are English learners. These are our other programs you can do. Drug and violence prevention is allowed. Science, technology, engineering, STEM is really a big thing right now. So we will encourage those folks to have very active STEM activities. Again, these have to be best practices, and they will need to be supported as being a best practice in your application. Allowable cost for these fundings, whatever you write in your application, make sure you include that in your budget. Subgrants must be used in accordance with the statutory and regulatory requirements. All costs must reflect resources necessary and that are directly allocable to the project plan. So whatever you have in your plan you're going to do, we expect to see those things in your budget. Nothing should surprise us in your budget that has not been already in your plan. it has to be reasonable. We're talking about the cost of things. If you're going to be purchasing basketballs for $25 a piece, that's unreasonable, where basketballs could probably purchase for about $7 to $10 a piece. So think about things such as that, and that you stay within the guidelines of the RFP and not exceed any of the regulations set there.
Questions that just came in.
Okay.
One is, what percentage of time must be dedicated to academic enrichment during the summer hours daily?
During the summer hours, there is not a set time for academics, because we know summer's probably a little bit more lax, but we will still expect to see a strong academic component in the summer.
Next question is, for STEM, will the funding cover the cost of robots and other STEM-related gadgets?
If the costs are reasonable and directly related to the activity, it will be considered.
Okay, that's it for now.
Okay. And of course, if the activity is unallowable, these funds cannot be used for those activities. If for any reason you do not use all the funds that were awarded to you, those funds will be retained by the Department of Education. Let me go ahead and say this right here. This will be a reimbursable grant. So there will be no advancements made of funds to entities at the award. So we're using a different process for repayment to you all, which should be a little bit quicker in getting the funds to you. But this will be a reimbursable grant, and there will be no advance payments made. This is a competitive competition. Your narrative will be between 8 to 10 pages, which will be uploaded to a online application as a PDF document. Online portions of the document will require you to load PDF and Excel, so make sure your computer systems can do that for us. Required documents we're going to be asking you for are a GEPA statement, which will provide more instruction on that in the application, your W-9, any MOAs you have with any external entities, a certification signature page, which has to be signed by your authorized official as well as your authorized financial official. The assurances and terms and conditions, which outlined the requirements of the grant as a federal use of federal funds. You have to submit your pre-award risk assessment, your program design template, which will also be included in your application, and your detailed spending plan. Your detailed spending plan will be your budget, where you will outline for us everything you're going to need funds for. So if you'll be using funds to pay for teachers, we'll need the information as clearly as you'll have 4 teachers working 4 hours a day, 4 days a week at $25 an hour. So we'll need that type of detail in that spending plan. We are in the final stages of having the RFP completed. Hopefully we'll have it out early in December. Here's the link to the SCDE grants opportunity page. It will be posted there. We will also send an email notice of the posting to this listserv, so you will also receive notice that that application is available. In the meanwhile, while you're getting yourself prepared for the application, we listed some links here where you can go and find out more about the funding. One is the ARPS or funding information page there at the Department of Ed website, guidelines on retaining documentation for your audit, and the pre-award audit program, the uniform grant guidance, which talks about all the regulations for the federal funds, a financial accounting handbook, and financial management expectations. So these links here will provide you with just some information you may or may not be aware of that all tie into the managing a federal award. The team working with this will be coming again out of the Office of Emergency Programs. Jennifer Wheeler, she's an Ed Associate and our team lead. She'll be working mostly with program compliance and fiscal management. Christy Motley is the ed associate who will be working with program implementation, and Michael Muller is our program coordinator who will be working with claims and reimbursement. So these are the folks you will be in contact with if you're awarded the funds throughout this process. Now, Christy, if you can let me know if there are any questions, or you can unmute, and as folks have a question, you can unmute and let them ask the question as well.
The chat questions first. If you have a nutrition segment, can you purchase food for that event?
No, we will not allow the purchase of food. What we're recommending is that there are other funding sources you have in your program to use those funds to buy the food and then have the ESSER funds cover the rest of that activity. We're not providing any reimbursements for food under the ARP ESSER program.
Next question, are you aware of how often funds will be reimbursed?
Not to go too far off track, but we'll be using a platform called ClassWallet. And the way that would work would be you would submit to this system, this platform, your documentation, which would be your invoice, your proof of payment, and anything, that goes along with the purchase that you made. Once you submit that, we ask for maybe 5 days to review. And once we approve it, it immediately starts to generate a check that will be sent back to you by direct deposit. So I would say within probably 7 to 10 days, on the average, is how quickly those reimbursements will come back. You can make the reimbursement every day. You can make them every week, every month, every quarter, however you need to, but as quickly as you get them in there, I said between 7 and 10 days, those reimbursements will be coming back. They will come back by direct deposit.
Next question, can transportation be contracted, provided, and paid for through the grant?
By contracted, you mean I'm assuming like a transportation organization or somebody else that has transportation for you. If it's reasonable, I would recommend that you do is what we will do. We will be looking at the applications. If we're not clear on something, we will definitely give you guys a call. But it's kind of hard to say off the top whether or not it will be, depending on what it is and whether or not it's reasonable. It is something that we will consider, because we do know not all organizations have their own transportation. So that is something we will consider. If the costs are reasonable, it can be funded.
Who do we contact with questions to see if we are a pass-through or not?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Who do we contact with questions to see if we are a pass-through or not?
Okay, for this application, if you apply and you are awarded, you are not a pass-through. You are indeed a subgrantee awardee. A pass-through would be once you receive your award, then you award someone else the funds. Just say if we give you $50,000 and then you have your own grant application process and you give $10,000 to 5 different organizations, that makes you then a pass-through. So if you apply for the funds and you receive the funds, you are then a subawardee of the funds and not a pass-through. And pass-through funds is not allowed.
Did you say that we have to be 501c3 or just a SAMS number?
Right, a 501c3.
And let's see, Ms. Turner has her hand up. I'm not sure if she actually has a question. Let's see.
Can you unmute her?
Yep, I'm about to unmute her and we'll see. I allowed her mic, but I don't see her saying anything. Let's see, Ms. Turner, if you want to type your question in the chat. Oh, there you go. Yes.
All right, I do have a question. If we have an existing approved grant and the grant we're applying for this year now has the requirement to state how many days, hours, or whatever, but if that was not in the original grant, do we have to modify our activities to meet the new grant requirements, or can we make the case that the existing program works with the hours and the days that we have in place already?
And this is a new funding opportunity, so there is no, as far as these funds are concerned, this is the first time this has come out. So for these funds, yes, you have to follow those rules. So if you have a program that's currently operating, to expand your program or to receive these funds, you have to follow those qualifications.
Thank you.
This is right. This is the first offering of these funds. So it would, if you have something already going, the funds that this will cover, those programs will have to follow these guidelines.
Thank you.
I think we have some more. Ms. Edwards. Can we unmute Ms. Edwards, Christy? Okay. Krista McLean, for summer camp programs, will they need to be hosted in person or will virtual learning be allowed? Virtual learning will be allowed. However, I'm not sure what the cost of that would be for virtual programming because we will not be able to purchase computers, but that can be considered. Okay, Mr. Spatz. Is this replacing the management of the ARP funds that were managed by the SCI School Alliance this past year? If not, would we be able to apply for both as long as we're using funds in separate? These are the this is replacing that program.
Muted, Ms. Edwards, Ms. Purnell, and Danielle. They have to unmute themselves to talk, though.
Okay.
Ms. Edwards?
Let's see.
Okay, we'll go to Ms. Purnell because she just unmuted and muted again. Ms. Purnell, what's your question?
Good morning. I'm just getting into the meeting. My question is, I don't miss the majority of it. Would it be recorded? Is it possible that y'all can send it to the email?
Yes, ma'am. It will be recorded and sent out.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Danielle, you can unmute and ask your question.
Thank you. I also placed it in the chat, but we were a recipient of an innovation grant through the state of South Carolina, and we wanted to, it only covered a portion of what we offer, which currently aligns with the COVID loss and learning slide for marginalized communities. And so will we have to still go through everything to possibly be reimbursed for some of that for this period?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
So the organization Historic Paradise Foundation, we were awarded some funds for innovation grant through the state of South Carolina Department of Education, and it only covered like part of what was required to run our program. And so if we want to apply for additional funds to cover that, can we do that as well? Or would it still be like, would it have to show the innovation allocated this way and the additional amount is through ESSER, after school, summer, whatever?
Right. If you apply for these funds, these funds and your innovation funds have to be tracked separately. And these funds can only be used to be reimbursed for activities under this project. So whatever you write into your application for this project, even if it's similar to what you've done in in the innovation grant, but it's expanding those services under ARPS, or we can fund those. We cannot fund activities that you have done using with your innovation money. You know, you cannot go back and forth. This can only fund whatever you write into your new application.
Okay, but it can't go back during periods of time.
Oh, no,
if-
no, no. This funding, the period of time for this funding will be January 1st, 2023
Okay.
through September 2024, right?
Well, see, we have an after school program that is for the fiscal year 2022, 2023. And then we have an 8-week summer camp program also. So with that, that's why I'm asking about like those amounts that cover that academic year.
No, it's the funding period, not necessarily the academic year. The funding period for this initiative begins January 1, 2023.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
See, we have a couple of questions in the chat. If we give all 50,000 to a local organization, or they pass through and do, no, you can. If we award you 50,000, you then in turn cannot award someone else 50,000. If we award your agency, we're expecting your agency to do the work. Now you may contract or partner with other agencies to help you get some of your strategies completed, but we'll expect you to maintain the funds, report on the funds, make payments to your vendors. You cannot then in turn pass these funds to another entity. Does that answer your question, Ms. Fentress?
We have one more person that had a question they wanted to ask. Ms. Roberts, you can unmute and ask your question. Okay, I'm not sure.
I'll go back to the
let's see.
chat.
Yep.
Check our
You answered already when the grant, when the spending period is. What's the award ceiling?
There is a formula. It's for your summer is 3,000, is 1,500 per student in the summer and 3,000 per student for after school. And that would be for the entire funding period. So I think the minimum you can serve are 20 students. Is the minimum you can serve in summer and after school. So the ceiling would be if you have 100 kids, $3,000 per kid, your funding amount would be $300,000.
Hold up.
Okay, one says our summer program is a 2-week camp with a different group of students each session. Is that allowed? What I'll do, please, Ms. Anne Marie, if you drop your email in the chat, let me think about that, and we'll get back with you.
See,
Yeah, but if
somebody
we're
was
able-
asking, I'm sorry.
I'm just going to the next chat. If we were able to apply for after-school programs and are awarded, what does the monitoring process look like? Fiscally, you will be required to submit to us every quarter a financial report, which shows by funding category how much money has been spent, as well as a narrative on how the money was spent. At the end of the school year, around July of each year, you have to submit to us an annual report that says, kind of summarizes for us everything you've done with your program in the summer and in the after school. As far as monitoring, we will do some desk audits to make sure things are in place. We will do some site visits to make sure programs are operating as they said. So that's pretty much how the monitoring will look. A lot of it will be what you submit to us, and we can monitor your things that way. trying to think. That's probably the crust of how the monitoring will look. We're still working on that. That will be kind of hashed out more when we get the application out to you all. But we will be monitoring your fiscal management very, very closely and your program implementation very, very closely. And I don't think I've said this to you. You do not have to apply for both summer and after school. If you just want to provide an after school program, you can do that. If you want to just provide a summer program, you can do that. Or if you provide an after school and summer program, that is allowable as well. If you're going to do both the summer and after school, you would have your budget will consist of your $3,000 per child for after school, and then the $1,500 per child for summer. Are there specific requirements for agencies we partner with? For example, if we partner with an agency that teaches ESL classes, does the state have to specify specific requirements that they must meet? No, we do not. We just ask that you submit with your application a memorandum of agreement of how that partnership will look and what the cost of that partnership would be.
Where will grant be submitted? Is it an online platform or submitted another way?
It will be submitted online. The application, you will do a 8 to 10 page narrative, your budget in your Excel spreadsheet. You would take all of your appendices and combine them into one PDF file and upload all of that to a FormStack application, similar to what 21st Century has done in the past. If you guys have seen a 21st Century application, but you will have part of it will be Word and then that will be converted to a PDF and uploaded to the FormStack, which is an online platform.
Someone said, did you say this grant would be replacing what we were awarded via ESSER from the Alliance?
Well, this is a brand new award. It won't be replacing anything, replacing any funds, if I'm understanding correctly. But these are the funds, yes, that were used with the Alliance.
I think you answered this one, but when is the expected announcement date for awardees?
The announcement date for the application to come out, we're hoping it to be out mid-December, and the awards will be made early January.
Question, can organizations collaborate to submit one grant split between both?
Yes, that is allowed. One applicant would have to serve as the primary applicant, and that applicant will be the one the award will be made to. And then the other will be like a partner, and they would have to, everything will still run through that primary applicant, but they can partner with another agency.
Let's see, we host summer camps, but different students attend weekly. Will this be allowed?
Yes, sounds like the question we had earlier. I need to kind of think on that. Our goal, our plan was to have the same students served continually throughout the program. However, if your program is one that the sessions are only allowed, or the program only allows for a couple of weeks, I see why you would rotate that through, but I don't want to say either way right now. If you would drop your email in the chat when we discuss it with our team, we will send those answers back out to you.
Such as summer at one site and after school at another, or would they need to send in separate applications?
If it's the same organization, it'll be one application. We're asking the application for you to describe your facility and where the program will take place. You would just say that your program will take place here for the after school, and it will take place at this site for the summer school.
And the last question in the chat, is that $1,500 per summer or $1,500 dollars split over both summers, 23 and 24?
It would be split over both summers. So if your total award for summer was $100,000, you would get 50,000 for one summer, and it would be 50,000 for the second summer, or $100,000 for the 2 summers, however, the funding works out. You would just have that amount to spend over 2 summers. All right, Ms. Lewis, I'll make sure I send that to you as well.
Ms. Witherspoon, you can unmute and ask your question.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My question, and I believe it might have been missed in the chat, for as far as the organizations and entities that we partner with, are there specific requirements for those? For example, does the state have a set of standards for the people that we partner with?
No, we don't have a list of partners. We would recommend that you make sure they are the best for the job. We won't be monitoring your partners as far as what their background is, but yes, you can partner with whoever in your community can provide those services, and just make sure you have an MOA that details out, I would say, a little bit of their background as well as what they'll be doing for your program.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions?
You
Okay, here's
mentioned
one.
automated finance software being used by the organization. Does QuickBooks suffice?
Yes, ma'am. QuickBooks would be perfect.
Mr. Washington, who came in a little bit late, was asking for an overview, and if a nonprofit has to have their paperwork completed at the time of the application. I'm not sure what paperwork.
Yes, you need to have your if you're a 501c3, you will have your letter of determination, and if you have your active SAM.gov registration, we will be able to see that when you apply, and we'll be requesting your UEI information on the actual application. So all that would need to be completed before you apply.
And can you please just repeat the funding period?
Sure. January 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024.
And I think that might be it.
I think we missed one. Can we apply for
No.
multiple sites, such as summer at one school, at one site, and after school? Oh, we did that. Yes, at another. Yep, we got you.
I think Ms. Witherspoon may have another question.
Okay.
I don't. I thought I was
Okay.
taking it down. Did I put it up? I'm sorry.
No problem.
No, ma'am, Ms. Morris, we'll send that out to the listserv once we get everything ready. You do not need to put your email in the chat to receive this slide. I was asking for emails of those folks who had questions about their children in summer school switching every week or so.
I think Ms. Purnell has another question. Ms. Purnell, you can unmute and ask your question.
The UE, you said the UEI number, that's the same as the EIN number?
No, ma'am. So it's a different number. If you go to sam.gov, as soon as you go there, I think a box will pop up that talks about the UEI number. If you are inactive with sam.gov right now, you probably have one. You may not know you have one, but if you are active with sam.gov, if you go to that website, it'll show you where to go to get your UEI number. And if you're not active with sam.gov, once you register, it will then generate you a UEI number.
Okay, thank you. Will
there be opportunities after 123 to apply for these funds? if for any reason we do not award all of the funds in this first round, we are considering having another round closer to the summer. And that's only if all the funds are not awarded in this first round. Yes, SAM numbers your SAM registration is valid for 1 year.
Marcella, you can unmute to ask your question.
Was there a question?
Yeah, she has her hand up. I'm not sure.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, sorry. Is there an age limit? Is there an age group? I mean, should I say a limitation on the age in which we can provide services for under this grant?
K through 12.
Okay. So one last question. So we have like a work study. It's like a summer training program for our teenagers. How is there any way we can use funds to serve them under, I mean, that population?
Are they K-12 students?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, not knowing much about and the details behind it, I would have to know more before I can say yes or no.
Okay.
So when you submit your application, you can include that as part of your project and we'll review it at that time.
Okay, thanks.
We just had a question confirming if it was $1,500 per student for summer.
Yes, ma'am.
Who do we contact with questions as we go through this process?
Any questions you have can be sent via email to essareporting@ed.sc.gov. And I'll put that back up in just a moment for us. If we're serving one site in the summer and a different site in after school only, can we apply separately for them? You can apply separately, but it'll still be the same amount of funding. So it'd probably be easier for you to just combine all that into one application if you'll still be the primary applicant. You'll have a space for summer to explain your summer project and a place in the application to explain your after school project. If there are no other questions, Christy has placed the email in the chat box. Any questions you have, just send them to us. We'll get back to you directly. Let's see. This is a competitive award. So based on, there will be external reviewers reviewing the award. So based on the rubric and how your application is scored is how the funding will be distributed. And there is no cap amount on the number of students you can serve. However, if you write our application to serve 100 students, we will expect that you have at least 80% of those students on site every day. So if you're going to write for 100 students and you only serve 50 students continually, we will readjust your award accordingly. So keep that in mind when you're writing for the number of students you're going to serve. You must maintain an average daily attendance of at least 80% of the number of students we've awarded funds for. With that being said, again, if you have any questions, please send them to the ESSA reporting email. That email is checked all day long. It even comes to my phone, so it's always checked. And we will send out a copy of this slide presentation as well as the recording to all those on the listserv. We will also send out a notice that the application has been posted when it is available on the Grants Opportunity webpage. Once that is posted, we will then have another technical assistance workshop where we actually go through the application and work with you on how to apply for the funds. Okay. If there is nothing additional, I will hang around for a few moments in case someone wants to talk to me directly about a specific issue they're having in their entity. If not, I appreciate your time and your patience, and I look forward to reading the wonderful things you guys have planned for the students in South Carolina. Have a great afternoon.